subsiding wave, subsiding away. You know the destination, the moment subsiding away. I know. Came from my hotel. Was passion for my life with a round. He said, "No man, hiding feet." We just so tired now. I was here. Subsiding away. Subsiding away.
Hello, everyone. It is 4:22 on a Friday. And apparently you got nothing better to do with your Friday afternoon either. So thank you very much for joining. We are having a very rainy day here in Rochester, which is what I will blame some of the technical difficulties on, although they probably have nothing to do with it. I hope everyone is well. It's been a while. Nice to be back talking to the computer. It's good for my psyche and mental health for sure. So I would like to bring on my guest today from Fat Cat Marketing. It is Robert Damian. Robert.
Hello.
Hey, good. I can hear you. Man, life is beautiful.
That's great.
How are you, Robert?
I'm great, Jamie. How are you?
We're in business.
Despite the technical difficulties, we're in business right now.
Yeah, are you kidding me? It doesn't get any better than this.
So great.
Why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself, Robert? Let everybody know a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Robert Damian. I live in a suburb of Chicago. I'm a writer. I've written 12 books. I'm a chef, and I'm a sales and marketing specialist. I'm well-traveled, lived in Japan, where I cooked and taught English and went to school. And now I'm relaunching Fat Cat Design and Marketing after a 14-year hiatus. And I'm looking forward to helping people relaunch and brand and grow their businesses to the best of my ability. And I'm here to help anybody who needs help, basically. I say that genuinely. I want to help people. I want to serve people. So.
Absolutely. That is that's great. That's very noble for sure. So you said you've written 12 books. What are some of the books you've written?
Well, it's interesting. I just published a food and travel narrative called The Paradise of Exiles. And it's a travel and food narrative, art narrative set in Italy and France for the most part. And there's a romance, but that's secondary. It's all about art, food, culture, history, and scattering my mother's cremains in the Adriatic. So there was a mission to accomplish. I've written a cookbook called Recipes from the Heart. I've written a number of books. I'm writing a sequel to a book I wrote when I was discharged from the Marine Corps called Tales on the Rising Sun. It's set in Japan, obviously, and it's a suspense and thriller. I've written memoirs. I wrote a tribute to my mother, and they're all 2 books are going to be published within the next month and a half. But The Paradise of Exiles is available in paperback and on Kindle. But I used to be a food and travel editor at a local upscale magazine. I do a lot of freelance writing, a lot of copywriting, articles, features. I used to be I used to write under the moniker The Wandering Gourmet. I used to review restaurants, and I may be doing that again very soon. So I have a pretty solid grasp and understanding of the goings on in and around the food service industry and the food industry. So that's why, hence, I'm launching a design and marketing firm that caters primarily to the food industry, basically, because that's what I understand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
You know, if you're going to write about something, it probably more entertaining if it's something you know, and definitely with the marketing and such. How long were you in the Marines?
5 years, sir.
Okay.
Notice I slipped a sir in there.
Yeah, of course.
5 years as an infantry. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that I could make it 5 days.
You'd be surprised.
I would.
Well, boot camp was challenging, obviously. Boot camp was a nightmare. And I wrote a book encapsulating the 13 weeks I spent in boot camp. It's called The Gods of Vainglory. And that's coming out in about a month and a half. We're working up, the editing is nearing completion. So I wrote about just that little experience becoming a Marine, being morphed from a civilian to a Marine. I wrote about that exclusively. And now the sequel is entirely different from that storyline. So you'd be surprised, Jamie. You probably could have made it through boot camp and the fleet. Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, the one thing.
No, you won't. Not at this juncture.
the one thing that I will say, Robert, is, and it's one of those no shit statements.
Yeah.
If I made it through boot camp,
right,
I'd probably be a hell of a Marine.
Oh, I bet.
But I don't think I'd make it through boot camp. Have you been to the museum, the Marine Corps Museum?
No, I haven't.
Okay, no. That's down near my in-laws' house in Virginia. Excuse me.
Quantico, Virginia, Jamie?
I believe that's where the museum is. Yep.
Okay.
My son's been a few times. My father-in-law, who's deceased now, he was in the Marines. He had more goddamn stickers on his car. Like he worked at the Pentagon. So, I mean, he was pretty high up. He was a colonel, I believe.
Oh, wow.
But we used to go to vacation on the Outer Banks. And my ex-wife was like, if you want to go with my father, you can, but he's going to leave at like 4 a.m. I'm like, yeah, I'm going with him. I'm like, all those stickers on his car. He drives like a diesel Mercedes that's mint. I'm like, we're going to make it there in 15 minutes.
Right.
No, this dude, like, he went like 60 miles an hour the whole way.
Really?
Why? Like, what are you doing? Like, they might think you're the president. Just go. But in any case, well,
Marines are morally upright and law-abiding, Jamie. You have to understand it for the most part. So I'm not surprised that he went at a turtle's pace, but full bird, that's very impressive. Was he a full bird or a light colonel? Full bird? Do you remember?
I don't know what that means.
It was okay. You have a lieutenant colonel and a colonel. Colonel has the bird on there as for their insignia. I'm assuming it was a full bird.
I think so. Yes.
Right. That's amazing. That's one rank shy of a brigadier general, a 1-star general. That's pretty impressive. Impressive.
It meant nothing to me. Obviously, you know, when I met him, he was an office guy. You know.
Right.
So with your experience in the Marines, what are some movies or books that you feel really capture, whether it's boot camp, whether it's military life?
Well, you know what I'm going to say first, I think. Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. Yes.
Well, I didn't see action. I came close. I nearly was sent to Beirut before the barracks went up, but Full Metal Jacket is a very accurate portrayal and depiction of life in boot camp. I can't speak for life in the field as a grunt fighting, but very realistic. You know, the way the drill instructors abuse and demoralize and humiliate the recruits is very accurate. Yeah, I mean, it's all about taking civilians and morphing them into, Marines who think and act and do things as one. They function as one unit. Okay, it's all about
Sure.
melting down the civilianness and molding a Marine, a lean, mean, green fighting machine, a leatherneck, a devil dog. So,
Yeah.
and that's a very accurate depiction. I think that's one of my favorite military movies. Platoon, I wasn't a nom again, but I think it was pretty accurate depiction as well. I love that movie. I think Willem Dafoe did a great job, as did
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen was excellent in that as well. Those are my two favorite. Trying to
Yeah,
think
and
of
those are popular ones for sure. And you said it,
Sure.
but that was one of the things that I would imagine. Think about anything that you're building.
Right.
At some point, it's a lot easier to knock it down and start again.
And rebuild. Absolutely. Great way of putting it, Jamie. You melt away that civilianness and you mold lean, mean, green fighter machines who will give their left testicles to go to war, basically. I hate to seem indelicate, but let me tell you what our rallying cry was in boot camp. This is shocking and appalling, but it's actually very accurate, if you don't mind.
I don't
It
mind.
was the only thing I feel when I kill is the recoil of my rifle. Blood makes the grass grow. Marines make the blood flow. Platoon 3099 holiday platoon, oorah. So that's what they hammered into our brains.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's he's in his mid-70s for sure.
Right.
The guy's awesome, just a super awesome guy. He I believe he got drafted to go to Vietnam, and he did either 3 or 4 tours because in his words, he fucking loved it.
Yeah. Gung ho.
He got there, and this is not a guy that, now granted, I didn't know him 50 years ago, but this is not an aggressive, loud, braggadocious guy. He said that he got there, and I might be putting words in his mouth here, but he just felt like, holy shit, this is it. This is what I've been looking for, or whatever.
Did he enlarge upon that, Jamie? Specifically, did he enlarge upon what it was about the experience that so drew him in? Or
I think that he really, certainly enjoyed the camaraderie. And, and here I'll put on my amateur psychologist shoes. He's someone that I know enjoys, like betting on horses. I'm not talking about, he's not a degenerate gambler, but he likes to have, maybe that thrill. Obviously the thrill of winning or losing a horse race is a micro moment,
obviously,
compared to, that. But I have heard that, though, that some people, and it's not often the ones that you would think, that do really thrive in that situation, whether it's combat, whether it's military, just that rigid structure. Some people, when they find it, it might be the first time they've ever had it.
Well, it's interesting you should say that. I was gung ho to a degree, but then a lot. I was a grunt. I was an infantryman, but I was selected. I'm writing about this now. I was selected to work for commanding generals throughout the first 3.5 years of my tour, in an enlisted aide de camp capacity. But still, I had to fire the rifle. I had to get gassed. I had to do everything that the grunts had to do, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time in the field. I never really enjoyed handling guns, handling a weapon. So I wasn't what you would say robotized. as a Marine, and it was pretty easy for me to deprogram when I was discharged. A lot of people are gung-ho. A lot of people, that's what they want to do the rest of their lives, 20, 30 years, whatever it means, and good for them. You know, I did 5 years. That was enough. I was ready to get discharged and move on to other pursuits, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to say thank you for your service. How do you feel? How do you feel about that statement? Like when someone says thank you for your service.
Well, you know, sometimes I think it's perfunctory, obligatory. Sometimes I think it's genuine.
Yeah.
And I'm indifferent to it. I don't need the accolades. I don't need the kudos.
Right. It doesn't do shit for you at this point, right?
Exactly. You know, I mean, a lot of people say it, like I said, it's perfunctory. That they do it with little thought. They think I want to hear it. What's even more annoying is when they say, "Did you see combat?"
Sure.
Not all military personnel see combat, and that's what people. That's a misconception.
Probably a minority.
Very minuscule amount. I went to boot camp 5 years removed from the fall of Saigon, so it was hard. Okay. I mean, it was hard when I went into boot camp and when I was in the fleet. Now I hate to say it, but it's more like boot camp is still hard, but the fleet, it's like a giant social club. You know, I mean, it's gotten real easy, and the Marine Corps has a reputation for being very tough and very regimented, very disciplined. And I think a lot of it's changed. I think they can't even swear at the recruits anymore. Whereas when I was in boot camp, we used to get hit. They used to strike us.
Yeah, I believe it.
I have stories. Yeah.
I've heard, not from you, but I've heard a lot of stories from other friends that have been in the military and such. But the reason I asked about the thank you for your service, my friend that I was talking about earlier, this 70-year-old now, I was in the bar with another buddy of mine, and I introduced the two of them, and they were talking, and my friend said he was in the Marines. My other friend said, "Oh, thank you for your service." And my buddy was like, eh. And my buddy Joe was like, "I hope I didn't offend you." He's like, "No, not at all." He's like, "You didn't offend me at all, but that doesn't mean anything to me."
Exactly.
He's like 50 years later, it doesn't mean shit. So,
well, you know, the Marines always say once a Marine, always a Marine. You've heard that, right? That's bull crap. I was discharged in 1986. I'm dating myself. I'm no spring chicken. And when I was discharged, I was done. I was no longer a Marine. So there's a lot of feigned esprit de corps, a lot of affected esprit de corps with, you know, some of these guys, some of these current Marines, discharged Marines. You know, a lot of it's feigned esprit de corps, I think, and it's okay. It's a head trip, and that's fine. They're entitled to their trips, obviously, you know.
And I actually think that's what my buddy was the opposite of. Right. You know, he's not someone that says, "Hey, I'm Bob. I was in the Marines." He doesn't give that was a different person. So yeah, I 100% get that. And that's super interesting. So after the Marines, you know, time for real life or whatever you call it. And so how did you get into the restaurant business, and what was the first role there, or take us there?
You know, I come from a food culture. My mother was a gourmet cook. Mm-hmm. I learned a lot from her, from my family members. And then when I went to Japan as a civilian to study, are you there, Jamie?
Yes, I am.
I don't see you anymore. But anyway, when I went
I was giving you your close-up, Robert.
You don't want to do that to me or them. No, I'm just kidding. No. So I was introduced to cooking by my family. My family has a long history of you know, chefs and great cooks. When I went to Japan to study at the university and to teach English, I started working in a restaurant, and I learned OJT. And this was in Japan. I spent about 3 years learning in the kitchens, and you know, I was not only a cook, a chef, but I was a figurehead because I was like the sole gaijin in the place. You know, so I was teaching them family recipes. It was very interesting. I was teaching them family recipes. I was learning about their own recipes, but it was Western cuisine. It was Italian, French, and
That's what I was going to
Provençal.
ask you, Robert.
Yes.
You don't look Asian, so you're
No, I hardly look Asian. No, it's interesting. My real name is Santagata or Santagata, and in Japanese, Anatagata means you guys. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. But so it was in a cooking capacity, Jamie, and I love cooking. I cook. I still cook for a couple of clients now. I'm going to be doing some more restaurant reviews, and it's a joy of mine. I would say second only to writing and sales and marketing, but it's a great joy for me to cook for friends and family and people who appreciate my handiwork in the kitchen, basically.
Very cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All through high school, I worked in restaurants, and then even through college, and then after college for a few years, I was in the restaurant bar business. Wow. So I'm very familiar. Actually, a good friend of mine, he opened a couple restaurants, and I worked with him, kind of leading right up to and through the opening. So, I've worked kind of in established restaurants, country clubs, and, kind of brand new restaurants. So yeah, definitely it's kind of its own little world. I'm not gonna compare it. Yeah, I'm not going to compare it to the military, but it is its own microcosm of life where, whether it's a chef or a manager, some of these folks are spending 60, 80, 100 hours a week. And yeah, and really the people that are there, in a sense, become like family, right?
Oh, absolutely. I love everybody I work with over the years. It's like you said, the camaraderie, the closeness, the shared interests and passions, and it's a lifestyle, and definitely you have to afford and avail a lot of your time and effort and energies to it, as you well know. And it's 60, 70, 80 hours easily. And then not only are you cooking, but when I was in Japan, I was helping those folks clean, scrub the kitchen down after we close, and they're pretty fastidious and meticulous and disciplined when it comes to cleaning. The Japanese are very clean people.
I'm not surprised by that at all.
That. So it was an interesting experience there, and so then when I came back, I just cooked I was a personal chef, and I had this Fat Cat Design and Marketing 14 years ago. We did some work with restaurants and various food service entities. And then my friend got sick. I went back to France, and for different reasons, we had to close shop. And I was recently talking to my editor, not too recently, it was a couple months ago, and he replanted the seed of relaunching rather this enterprise. And I thought, why not? I mean, a lot of restaurants have gone out of business. A lot of food service entities have gone out of business. And I generally have a burning desire and hankering to help them when they reopen or when they open under new ownership, new management. And I'm pretty well connected, and I have other people around me who are very well connected. I generally want to help these people, with their businesses to become professionally and financially enriched. And that's why I'm launching this, Jamie, basically, Fat Cat Design and Marketing, because I want to help people, and I want to enrich everybody, all parties concerned, basically. So, and that I say that genuinely. I'm not just blowing hot air.
No, I get it, and I believe it. I 100% believe it, Robert.
Right.
Now, because of my technical difficulties, I know you're on your phone. Can you turn your phone sideways? Will that work?
Like that?
Like if you turn it sideways so that it's like this, but still pointed at you. Like instead of this, like this.
I know I'm trying it, but it's not. Okay, hold on a second.
All right. No, it might not work. That's fine.
No.
I didn't know if the software would do that. So that's my fault, Robert. That was a little side business. But yeah, I can tell that. I mean, not that I can tell, that's bullshit. But I know that if you've worked in the restaurant business, then if you choose to go back in to help, to work in that business, I'm sure that you're not doing it to get rich or because they're the nicest people in the world. It's like when, have you ever read Farewell to Arms?
Hemingway?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where they accuse him of faking jaundice to just go drink in the hospital. He says, how many soldiers do you know that intentionally kick themselves in the balls so that they don't have to fight? And she's like, well, none. He's like, right. Wow. Right. I'm not faking this. And that's a very poor segue, but the only one I could come up with for signing up to work with restaurant owners again.
Wow.
I will preface the rest of anything else that I say. I love restaurants. I love restaurant people. Restaurant owners are notoriously difficult. One, to get in front of, and two, to get back in front of. They have very little time and they think they have even less. And what little time they do have, they use a lot of it to tell you how busy they are. Again, not.
Yeah. I was going to say, a lot of times they think their time is more important to you than yours is, more important to them than yours is to you. And that's fine. But I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's time is equally important to them. And I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I'm pretty patient, I'm pretty tolerant, and I'm pretty ingratiating with some of these people on the phone and in person. And a lot of this is going to be done remote, obviously, until things normalize a little bit more. But anyway, I interrupted you. Please finish your thought.
And that's a great point. And I was pretty much just going to say there's a lot of good reason for the fact that they are, it's like they have a very high wall, because I would say to anyone watching, just think of the amount of BS phone calls that you get in a day on your personal cell phone.
I know.
And now multiply it by 50. And that's what any business owner gets. But a restaurant owner who, may be doing any number of things, talking to a customer, cooking in the kitchen, behind the bar, training somebody, so just think of being constantly interrupted. Robert, you've got a phone call. It's Jim from Horizon. He says it's very important. And then you say, guys, I'll be right back. And hey, Robert, this is Jim. I just want to see if you're happy with your current POS system. And you're like, dude, what the fuck? So I do get it. And once you can break through, the other thing that I will say, because I've seen and lived it, is that when you're in a meeting with a restaurant owner, they're not going to waste your time, and they are very receptive and bottom line driven. They don't want the fluff. They don't want the bullshit. It's like, Robert, you've got 10 minutes. Tell me what your product is going to cost and how I can expect to see a return on that investment. Right?
Exactly. We're endowed with a very talented team, and I have video people, and one of them actually, obviously. I have graphic artists. I have food photographers. I'm not going to say I can offer so much more than the average design and marketing firm, but I do know the talent that I've surrounded myself with are extremely gifted, dedicated, and they share my vision, and I to help people. And if you can convey that effectively and impress upon a prospective customer that you're willing to go the extra mile to accomplish a mission, I think that goes a long way. Plus, you have to be ingratiating. You know, when you talk to them, you have to have an instant rapport personality, which I think I have, and a lot of the people I work with have. And I think I have to give it a go. I mean, I think that it's a good opportunity for everybody. You know, we've been depressed for so long, and you know, a lot of food service entities, like I said, have gone out of business. A lot of them are going to be reopening, and they're going to need branding, and they're going to need menus and logos and social media videos and press releases and food styling and photography. And I'm willing to do whatever I can to help them realize their goals, basically. So.
Yeah. And I think obviously your background in the business helps,
Right.
Because you don't, a restaurant owner doesn't need to teach you anything.
No.
You know, if you spend 20 minutes in a meeting, you're spending it well. It's not someone explaining to you, well, if we do a special, it's actually, no, you get all that. So it definitely has to add to, you know, more productive meetings and better communication. So yeah, what do you think, you know, from a marketing standpoint, or really any, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges facing businesses, you know, in this moment in history? You know, so what do you think are some of the challenges, whether from a marketing standpoint or otherwise?
Well,
That
I know. Yeah. Money. You know, a lot of restaurants are under a lot of, you know, current restaurants. The labor is a problem. You know, a lot of restaurants, a lot of food service entities don't have the money to spend on marketing, and there are a lot of different reasons, obviously, but mainly it's money and the hospitality labor problems. There's a lot of issues with that, but I mean, I always say nothing ventured, nothing gained, you know. But I think a lot of it's money, and a lot of these restaurants are going to have money to like reopen under new ownership and new management.
Let's talk about that a little bit, Robert. So, and I get that, and you know what? It's not restaurant specific. I work for
food industries, yeah.
Well, no, I work for a digital marketing company, and nobody has money for marketing. Nobody.
Yeah.
I simply don't I mean, I understand you think you don't, but I also, I don't know that a restaurant would ever say, well, you know what, we're not gonna turn the lights on this week. We just don't have the money. You know, I don't get that. So what do you say to that restaurant owner that says, you know what, Robert, I can see what you're doing and I can see how it would help. I just don't have the money right now.
You know, everybody needs to advertise. Everybody needs to market. And I just spoke to some guy whom I'm going to help about 3 days ago. And he goes, well, you know, money's kind of tight. Yet he's sitting on over $100,000 worth of comic books. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. If they have a good concept, a good project, they can find the money. They can get loans, they can get grants. I mean, and you know, I'm willing to work with people. I mean, you know, I'm willing to like adjust fees, and you know, I'm willing to do whatever I can to help them, because at the end of the day, we're all in it. We're all in it to like, you know, to survive, to thrive, to prosper, and to create better lives for ourselves. But you know, everybody has to understand, if you can't understand, you need to advertise and market. Maybe you don't belong in business. Maybe you have no business operating a restaurant, a food entity, you know. Even McDonald's advertises. I mean, these titans in the food industry have to advertise, and they need to understand that advertising and marketing are not sprints, they're marathons. So it's not like you're going to play.
They're not optional, and that's a great point. It's a great point, Robert, and that's one of the things that I tell people, regardless of the business they're in.
Right. Exactly.
you're in competition against someone. And
Right.
if you're doing nothing to market yourself and they're just doing a little bit, well, yes, like you said, you're in a marathon, but right now you're sitting in an easy chair at the starting line. And yes, maybe they're only crawling, but they've been crawling for an hour and a half. So when you start, you're going to have to sprint for 45 minutes just to get to where they are right now.
Right. Very savvy observation.
And the other thing that I would say, Robert, and I tell people right up front in just about any relationship, I'm too old to talk bullshit, so I do try to ask difficult questions, but also heart of the matter questions. So I would, if a restaurant owner told me that, hey, I just don't have money to advertise it, it's weird, I need more business. Well, obviously, if you think you don't have money, then I know you need more business. But what would that restaurant owner say to me? Maybe if I came in and had a draft beer at happy hour and I looked at the nightly specials and said, you know what, those look awesome and I'm starving, but I just can't afford I can't afford to eat. That restaurant owner would probably
not negotiate, obviously.
Well, yeah, I don't think they'd say, well, you know what, here, give me $5, we'll call it even. But
I understand.
I do think they might ask me what else I'm spending money on. They might very well say, well, Jamie, you tell me you're starving. I see you here every day. You have 4 draft beers and then you leave. Maybe you skip happy hour beers for 2 days and come in and have a nice dinner. And in the marketing world, it's difficult to have those conversations with business owners. I get that. But it's a very common objection is I just don't have the money. And it's like, well, when are you going to? I'd love to write a book, Robert. You know what? I don't have time.
Yeah.
But I am willing to bet, Robert, that no one came up to you one day and said, hey, Robert, I can read your mind. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you time. The next month of your life, no one is going to ask you for a single thing. Your bills are going to be paid. You don't have to work to make the money to pay your bills. But the only thing, you need to use that month to write your book. No, it doesn't happen. No. You make the time or you make sacrifices to get in front of people. That's a great point about McDonald's. I used to sell telephone book advertising.
Wow, interesting.
Obviously, I was transitioning people over to the digital world, but we were still selling telephone advertising. And people would tell me all the time, the telephone book doesn't work. I'm not going to waste a dime. I'd say, that's fair. Right. That's fair. But look who has 4 pages in here. Geico Insurance.
Exactly.
Do you think they're investing this kind of money because it doesn't work? No, they don't.
Henry Ford. No, you're right. Henry Ford once said it's okay to have the greatest product or service in the world, but if you can't bring people to it and like impel them to buy, to use your service, it's useless. So that's Henry Ford, the inventor of Ford, and it's the truth. I mean, even large corporations are still advertising, and I can't speak for every business out there, but again, I believe where there's a will, there's a way. A lot of times they just want to be separated from the money, but they don't realize how imperative it is to advertise and market, and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So, obviously
Absolutely.
not everybody's a viable prospect, but I mean, again, there are plenty of people out there who are aware that this is absolutely necessary to survive and to draw people to your establishment and to prosper. It's absolutely an absolute given, as you well know. So,
Yeah. And, there is a proven return on marketing dollars.
right.
And what I would tell people and have told people is, or ask them, what is an amount, a dollar amount per month that if you did not have, you might think about it, but it's not going to drastically change your life. Yes, if I took that money out of your wallet right now, Robert, it might be a week or two where you're like, God damn, I could really use that. But
Exactly.
in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to affect your life. And I would ask, business owners that. And sometimes, there's $300-400 a month I could probably part with. And cool. That's where we're going to start. And you know what?
Exactly.
$300-400 a month is not going to get you to the first page of Google next month. But what it is going to do is it's going to start that marathon. Maybe you're
going.
just walking it, maybe you're just walking that first mile. But the other thing I'm going to tell you is you're going to see me again in 6 months, and I'm going to show you where that advertising money went, what it did, and what you've accomplished. And then I'm going to ask you to double it. And, and ultimately, I think that is, in a sense, you almost need to force people to do it. Just think of as a human being, all those things that you simply could not live without and or didn't need.
Exactly.
So yeah, and I think that a lot of marketing these days has changed to be more organic. Things like this.
Of course. It's very or not rehearsed. Exactly.
And something as simple as social media interaction or a blog post every month that on your website, a blog post, and this doesn't, I think what a lot of people don't understand is this should tie into your bottom line. Maybe you have a monthly special, that's your special all month. And the month before, you write a blog post about the history of this dish, how you create it and make it differently than everybody else.
Yeah, your niche.
Something like that. You get one piece of content, you put it on your website, you share it to all of your social media sites. And, and things like that aren't free, no, but it's not going to cost a business owner $5,000 a month. And it's a good way, one, for you, Robert, to get your foot in the door so you can show
That's
these
what I was going to say.
Yeah, so you can show them, look, I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing something. I'm not stealing your money. Now imagine if you paid me a little bit more.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, Jamie, these restaurants are going to be reopening. They're going to need menus. They're going to need table tents. They're going to need logos. And I'm thinking the exact same way you are. Get my foot in the door and then parlay that into something a little bigger, but in a way that's going to help everybody concerned. I hate to belabor the point, but I really want to help these people because I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
I've worked in the restaurant industry, as you have as well, and it's not easy. Very stressful, and I generally like to serve people, and the people that I'm working with or people I'm surrounded by, share my sentiment. They want to help people, and as long as I can get my foot in the door, I think I'm able, with the help of those people around me, to impress upon these restaurateurs, these chefs, whoever the decision makers are, that with a little more investment, maybe some incremental investment, we can put them firmly on the culinary map and help them prosper and meet and indeed exceed their sales goals, and make their diners happy, make themselves happy, make us happy. I mean, everybody's going to be happy. It's going to be mutually enriching, and that's my vision. So
I agree, and I think it's maybe a tough message to accept for some people, and I know a lot of restaurant people are very black and white. If you're not helping them, you are actually hurting them, because the time and money they're spending with you could be spent elsewhere. So
of course.
So yeah, I definitely get that aim, and I think it's a good one. It's a good message to have.
Right. So that's it in a nutshell. I mean, we're getting close to launching, and I would say within the next couple of weeks, we'll have everything in place. And I'm just trying to get the website up and running. And, I mean, it's a process, it's like you said, I'm building from the ground up, and there are a lot of things that need to be implemented. A lot of things need to be addressed, but, I'm getting there. And I have lots of contacts. My best friend is endowed with thousands of contacts in the food and food service industry. And I look forward to launching and doing what I do best. And I say that genuinely. I definitely want to help people. I want to make everybody happy, and I will manage somehow. And with determination and perseverance and know-how, I will help these people. And I know it's a matter of getting my foot in the door, but again, small steps lead to sprints. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So as long as I can get my foot in the door, I'm surrounded by a lot of talented people. Social media videos. There's a guy that does social media videos. Designers that do logos. I have a website designer. I do writing, and I do food photography. A lot of my food photography is on the site, will be on the site, and food styling as well. And I can write cookbooks, and I can write little stories, little vignettes. I can write chef and restaurateur profiles. So there's a lot we can do. I'm not saying we have an absolute niche, but there's a lot we can do for people.
Fucking make one, dude.
Exactly.
It's I don't know. Think of a restaurant staple that we just take for granted. And I will show you a point in time where the majority of people were vehemently opposed to it and told this guy or gal, hey, great idea, but it's never going to work. And like you said, it doesn't work until it does. And are you? Yep.
Patience.
So yeah, I just had $1 million idea that I might as well share with you, Robert. You're talking about, menus and table tents and things like that. In the COVID era or whatever is happening, why wouldn't you go 100% online? Why wouldn't you?
That's an option. That's something we're considering. But things are normalizing, and people still want to hold a menu in their hands. We're getting the. Don't you think, Jamie? I mean, I go to restaurants now, and they hand out physical menus. And my brother,
sure, but let me ask you, Robert. Do you prefer to read a physical book than like a Kindle or an ebook?
I will not read a Kindle. It's tactile. It's a tactile experience. That's how I am.
95% agree with you. I will read a Kindle, but I'd much rather read a book. But guess what? Yeah. The Kindle and ebook industry is a multi-billion-dollar one.
I know.
So while you and I may say, nope, I love books. I love the smell of them. I love the feel of them. I love that I can tell how far I am.
Right.
That is all valid. I my bold prediction is that we're going to see 5 years from now that 90% of menus are going to be right here.
I know. I know that, Jamie, and it's an option. And we, my staff and I have been talking about that, and we will do it. It's just a matter of what the restaurateur, what the owner wants.
Absolutely.
So we'll adapt. We'll adapt, and we're chameleon-like. We'll be very chameleon-like in our approach, and I think we'll make it work. But again, personally, I'm like you. I'm a very tactile individual. I like to hold a menu. I like to hold a book. I've never read a book on Kindle. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Totally. And, you and I, for HIPAA rules, I won't say what our age is, but we are of a certain generation.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend, both for you in your business and for any restaurant owner, have the menu online because some people,
you're right.
If they see it online and they might prefer it there, it lets you do a couple things. One, that person spending time on that website reading the menu even while they're at the table is a very strong signal to Google that this website must have something going on, because a lot of people are really spending time on it. That in and of itself will help a website's ranking ability. The other thing is you can personalize that experience. If someone makes a reservation on the site, and then you can send them the menu right through the site, you can put social media icons right there so that they can click the thumbs up, and I don't want to denigrate anybody, but I'm mostly talking about me. I'm lazy. Robert, if you said to me, if you said to me, Jamie, I would really appreciate it if you go to my Facebook page and like it and share it, I would tell you, Robert, you email me that link and I would be glad to. But I am not.
That's baffling to me. I mean, not because it's you, but I'm the kind of person, if my friend launches like a Facebook page or, Instagram, I will go there immediately. It takes 3 minutes to do. But, it's funny. I have a couple sites. I have a YouTube channel, and I should have a lot more likes, a lot more followers. Friends sometimes don't even come through for you. It's kind of interesting, but I know what you're saying. It's it's curious.
And especially for friends,
right?
It's a lot easier to friend shame them after the fact. Like, hey, Robert, I sent you the link. I did everything but come to your house and press the button on your mouse. Do I need to do that too?
Exactly.
But guess what? You do. For Christ's sake, how many bathrooms do you go in at restaurants that have a sign that say to flush the toilet? For Christ's sake, if you got to tell someone to flush the toilet and wash their hands, you better put the Facebook page right in front of them.
Yeah, you're right, Jamie. That's it's so funny.
Those are just, kind of more along the fact of, things that you and I don't prefer, don't like, or don't see a future in.
Yeah.
Don't really matter.
5% of the people, like you said, the 5% in the aggregate, it's a lot of people. Like you said, 5% of the people out there now may want online menus and table tents and this, that. And obviously that need needs to be satisfied. And I look forward to satisfying that need. And I'm also a purist. I'm also a traditionalist. And I think physical menus are still going to be important 5 years from now. But you're absolutely right. 5% is a lot of people. So if 95% of people want to hold the menu and 5% of people want to see it online, I have to make everybody happy, you know. So I have to address everybody's concerns and needs. So you're
Well,
right.
and I mean, if you want to talk about, maybe the next time you talk to that business owner who doesn't have money for marketing, ask how much do you spend on menus?
Exactly.
How much do you spend to get menus redone? And I know how it goes. You spend a lot of money to get them laminated and all that.
Exactly.
And then they get beat to shit. And then you got to pay someone to clean them, but they get beat to shit. You got to replace them. So,
I love it.
you know what? Maybe you tell someone, hey, I'm going to save you that menu money.
Right.
We're going to put it online. And you can pass it off as a COVID thing. Hey, you know what? In the best interests of your health, all of our menus are going to be made available online.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they're not going to be available this way.
I gotcha. Yeah, very good. Very good point. Very good point. Excellent point.
Yeah, I've got two of them. I can't remember the other one, but
you're a wealth of interesting and sound advice. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think that ultimately, and you're exactly right. We're at a crossroads in a lot of industries, and restaurants are certainly one of them.
Yeah.
And mark my words, 5 years from now, Robert, you and I sitting here having a recap of this conversation, the restaurant experience 5 years from now is going to look drastically different than it did 2 years ago. And
absolutely.
And those people that are leading the charge rather than, following the example are ultimately going to be the ones that see that, that enjoy the benefit of it.
Those are the trailblazers. The trailblazers are going to reap the benefits of their creativity, their innovation. I agree with you.
Yeah, and we talked about 5%, and that's a great place as any as we wrap this up. It's funny that whether we talk about a podcast, whether we talk about a restaurant, anything, if you can really find that niche, I don't want a so-so clientele. I want someone that says, I would kick down a door to have dinner here. And if that means that 50% of the people would never, ever, 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 ever come in this place because they don't have a phone for your menu, that's dumb. But those people that are passionate are the people that ultimately are going to spend the money. And ultimately, they're the people that are going to be successful because, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I would say something that probably makes most soldiers and restaurant owners, maybe something that they have in common is that at one point they said, you know what? I don't understand what you're saying. I don't think it's going to work, but I trust you. And I have turned this portion of my decision making over to you. So I'm going to let you do this. And I mean, look, there's a laundry list of things that, have gone that way.
Of course.
So can you think of maybe any other innovations, coming out of this difficult time that you think are going to set certain restaurants apart and or that are going to
Jamie, you're breaking up a little bit. You're breaking up a little bit, Jamie.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, I was just saying, wanted to know if you maybe could think of some innovations that you think will be made by either restaurants or innovations that you're bringing to the table that you think truly will last and be a difference maker?
Let me think about that. You ask big questions.
Thanks. No, and look,
Innovation. I mean, creativity. I mean, it's semantics. I mean, we have creative ways to promote, to market, and to advertise. I mean, beyond that, I can't give you anything more specific. But we have. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was just saying. Sure, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Like it's hard.
It's hard, of course. I mean, again, we're in the formative stages still. There's a lot to be considered. There's a lot of brainstorming to do, and I plan on accomplishing that in the next couple of weeks. But it's, baby steps first. The bottom line is got to make some contacts, got to do some relationship cultivation. And again, I have a lot of contacts in food industry, and I have a friend who is very well endowed with contacts, and with his guidance, he's a marketing genius. I'm not a marketing genius. I do a lot of sales, cooking, and writing, but I have a lot of marketing geniuses around me. And this guy, he's like the smartest marketing person I've ever known. And he's willing to help us to ensure that we succeed. And he's gonna lead us in the right direction. And he's gonna give us contacts and people to talk to, people to call. He's already doing it. So we'll see what happens. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I wouldn't say at this juncture we're extraordinarily unique. Maybe we're still looking for that niche, but we'll find it. So
yeah. I would say, Robert, my unsolicited advice here. You better fucking say you're extraordinarily unique.
Right.
Otherwise, what do you bring into the table? You're a nice guy and you know a lot, and you know a lot about the restaurant business, but you better find something unique, even if it's putting a cherry in a martini. You better.
You're right.
Cool. Well, Robert, I appreciate your time, and I'm definitely going to keep in touch because I want to see how things go. I love food as well, and I love good restaurants, and I certainly miss them. So,
what's your favorite cuisine, Jamie? Before we part,
I have a very pedestrian palate, and
burgers and fries.
No, I like steak and fries.
So do I.
I like steak. I love prime rib. I cook as well. So I have a hard time, like prime rib's a great example. I have a hard time going out and spending $70 for a 24-ounce prime rib that I can make as well in my house, and I don't have to wear pants to do it.
No, the thing is, and when you go to a restaurant, they're going to charge whatever the market will bear. You know that.
Yep.
And they're invariably charging way too much. But the thing is, they're being served, you're being waited on, and the ambiance. But I'm on the same page as you are. I'd rather cook it myself, take my time, have people over, and spend a heck of a lot less. So that's my school of thought.
That's a great point, Robert. And I won't think about what it cost to make that at home if the rest of the experience is that. If the service is wonderful, and I'm not saying above and beyond, just if it doesn't suck. I mean, I'm pretty understanding as well. But that's when these little things start to add up. When you have to wait for 20 minutes to get a table and they don't have a bar, so you can't, so you're really standing there messing around on your phone for 20 minutes because you can't, and then your waitress forgets your soda, whatever. These little things add up to then where you're saying, okay, so now I just spent X amount on dinner. I've got to tip X amount on top of that.
Mediocre experience, yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, yeah, if there maybe is a secret to the restaurant business, good food in and of itself isn't going to do shit.
No, it's a formula. You know, good food, good service, good ambiance.
Yeah, great atmosphere.
Attention to
Exactly.
detail, all that stuff is important. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
I've had some bad experiences like you, but some really bad experiences. And you know, I'm the kind of person, regardless of how bad the experience is, I feel it incumbent upon myself to tip more than 15-20%. That's just how I am. You know, maybe I'm
Yep.
hyper scrupulous, but that's just how I am. You know, I always over tip, regardless.
See, I can draw a distinction between it being the server's fault or the kitchen's fault. And I don't think that I have ever tipped less than 15%. But if the server is fucking awful, I'm not tipping 20% because then there's no incentive
for them to improve.
They think that's just fine.
I got you.
But yeah, that's cool. I definitely appreciate that. And I'll throw one at you out of left field. What's your favorite book?
What's my favorite book? Probably Somerset Maugham's Of Human Bondage.
Yeah. All right.
Are you familiar with it?
I am.
It's a great book. It's very flowery. It's very Baroque. And I kind of like that style. I have different styles that I write in. Sometimes I write a very Baroque, very flowery style. He was an English writer, as you know, and it's about a strange, unreasoning passion that he has for a woman who abuses him. And he has a clubfoot, and it's semi-autobiographical. And I haven't read it in a long time, but I have it in my bookcase. I read a lot of art history, Jamie. That's my love, you know, on top of cooking and everything else. But I know a lot about art and art history. I've seen a lot of the great art around the world, and I'm very well traveled, and I feel fortunate to have seen a lot of the great visual art. And you know, I've been to a lot of symphonies and operas, and so I'm pretty happy that I've had a lot of culture in my life. So I've experienced a lot of culture.
Have you ever read Infinite Jest?
No.
And you probably won't, but you should.
What's it? Who's the author?
David Foster Wallace.
David Foster Wallace.
Infinite Jest. It's about 1,100 pages.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it is not an easy read by any means.
Ponderous, I bet.
It is, and it's like exercises for your brain, quite literally.
Really?
And it's fiction. There is a narrative. It's not an easy, especially first read. And I say first, yes, because it's absolutely brilliant. I would highly recommend it. But if you don't read it, I'm not going to think less of you.
No, I'll pick it up. Absolutely. It's probably like reading Milton or Dante. You got to dissect every sentence, every line, cipher every line. Is it really heavy vocabularically? I mean, for the verbiage, or is it?
Yes.
Yeah, I figured.
It's often been compared to Ulysses. I've never read Ulysses, but just that it's so minute detail about a lot of things. But yeah, Robert, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck. And I just actually texted you a picture of my office. I'm a book dealer, collector, reader, so I have so many books. But yes, I wish you the best of luck. There is your website, fatcatdesignandmarketing.com.
Yes.
And definitely look forward to seeing you get off the ground. And if there's anything I can help you with, don't hesitate to let me know. All right.
There definitely will, sir. I appreciate your time and your knowledge and your expertise and your pointers. Thank you very much, Jamie. Have a great remainder of the day, okay?
Absolutely. You as well, Robert. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye, sir.
Bye. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was Robert Damian from Fat Cat Design and Marketing. So you restaurant owners out there, or maybe even new restaurant owners looking to get in the business, you need some marketing, need some pointers, reach out to Robert. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been too long. We should do it again soon or something. Thanks so much for tuning in. Those of you watching after the fact, thank you too. Enjoy your weekend. I hope everyone has a great Memorial Day and stay safe out